Hey there. So today I want to talk about something that I think you and I are going to see more and more of in the future. And that thing is protesting. And as emotions get triggered, some people are going to jump into activism as a way to feel like, they're doing something productive when, maybe they don't know what to do or they don't agree with something. Specifically perceived threats to freedom and liberty. And I will also add that this is not a judgment on whether I think a person should or shouldn't protest. That's really not the point. Freedom of expression can be done in many forms, and it doesn't just have to be through protesting. And I'm more concerned with how we develop our taste and learn to have discernment between authentic leadership and people who pose as leaders, but really are just a fake simulation of the real thing. And this is going to be really important as we move forward through this crisis. So this past week, I was invited a few different times by several people to go to the protest at the state capitol. And this was to, fight for freedom, concerning the stay-at-home order. And I got a full body hell's no. And everything inside of me felt off. And I couldn't really shake the weird feeling I had for a few days leading up to it. And on the surface, I thought I knew why I felt off. But as I dug deeper, I realized there was more to the story for me. So I'm going to share this because I hope my reflections give you some language to help you if you are faced with something similar in the future. So at first, I thought I was saying no because at my core, I'm really not a political activist, and I don't like those fist-pumping rallies, especially at this critical and sensitive time. And I choose to help others, and I choose to support my community until we get a better picture of the health crisis. And I really enjoy creating in the name of what I stand for, rather than, fighting against what I don't like. And while all of that I just said may be true for me on the surface, what surprised me was what I discovered at a deeper level, and actually what has been bothering me for the past several years about leadership. So feelings of disgust have come up a lot. And this particular protest really triggered disgust again for me. And as I dove deeper into my feelings of disgust, I also watched some video footage from the event. And as I watched, it became crystal clear for me why I smelled and tasted something off about the event. And this is what it was for me. It felt like distorted leadership. It felt like simulated leadership, not the real thing, but a simulation. And I could actually smell and taste the flavors of artificial leadership. Staging and organizing protests is an old, outdated tactic and doesn't reflect how far we have come to this place in 2020. The energy's dead. Even if passion was felt there, it had the energy of a dying process that doesn't work. And the speakers and the people in the crowds were acting out a simulated freedom rally, But all I could sense was, self-service and rebellion. And the leaders were using the same fear tactics they were fighting against, which clued me in on the artificial leadership. I mean, leaders who use old, outdated strategies, such as, protest to voice change, in my opinion, lack imagination and creativity. And those who follow are probably well-meaning, but maybe innocently could be moving someone else's agenda forward without even knowing it. I mean, organize a bunch of people together, make homemade signs, and then have speakers, push their agenda. And then the followers, pump their fists in agreement. The protest leaders, spoon-fed an imagined world of good guys against bad guys and said, if you don't fight, you will lose everything. And it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me to promote freedom and liberty with the same fear tactics that, ironically, they are fighting against. It's all the same. Protests are ineffective tactics these days, and creative leaders with a more developed taste know this. And all I could see were beautiful, creative people who weren't using their creative talents and strong voices, in a new, in an inspiring way. So I'm not here to have answers. I'm just here to raise awareness so we can ask more questions before we jump on bandwagons. I mean, authentic leaders understand time. They know when to speak and they know when to listen. And if someone is telling you to act quickly and move quickly, they usually do not have your best interest, and they are only serving themselves. And authentic leaders use creative force, not the force of fear. They share a bigger vision of a brighter future, better than you could even imagine, beyond your own limitations. And if they use language such as, if you don't do this now, then X will happen, they are using fear. And authentic leaders have a diverse council of other leaders in their court, and they promote self-leadership to the people they serve. Leaders don't have followers. They see everyone as leaders in their own right. And I just really feel strongly about supporting authentic leadership, and I am using my creative efforts to see this happen. I mean, discernment is key, and it is going to be very important for you to develop your taste and smell for what's really authentic for you as we navigate all this noise and all this transformation. So I really appreciate you being here and listening from my intuitive heart to yours. Thank you.